Welcome to another 642 Tiny Things to Draw update. Our first doodle of the video is a dollop of whipped cream, or rather dollops, because I drew 3 of them. After sketching, I outlined in pencil. I didn't want any hard lines, so I didn't use marker or pen. I wanted this to be light and soft, so pencil it is. And then I started shading with pencil. I'm using one shade of blue for all of this. I'm just pressing a bit harder to get darker shadows and keeping light pressure for the lighter shadows. Then I colored in the background solid blue, and I kind of liked how the dollops were just like forming out from the background. It did look kind of cool, but they also got a little lost in the solid blue. So then I came in with graphite and just refined those edges. And there we have 3 finished dollops of whipped cream. Next up is pencil shavings, but I wanted to get a little more creative with this. So instead of just drawing pencil shavings, I wanted to make a little dress out of pencil shavings. This is not an original idea. I've seen many people do this before. So first I sketched out my little character and I outlined her in Micron. I left the space blank where the pencil shavings are gonna go. I just left a little outline of the general shape of the pencil shavings. And then I started sharpening some pencils to get those pencil shavings. I did a lot of this off camera because it was hard and I needed to focus, but basically I just made a little layer dress using different shades of purple and pink pencil shavings, and then I glued them all down with just basic Elmer's glue, and then from the actual pencil itself, not the wood, I just kind of glued down around the edges to fill in the space and then kind of look like confetti. Okay, moving on, we have a pirate's eye patch, and I ended up just drawing the entire parrot. I wanted this to look like a stupid little pirate cartoon like you find in those sticker packs for kids. I wanted colored lines, so I outlined this in Pilot Pen, and then the little bit of black was with Microns, and then I started shading with graphite. I colored in using Artist Loft colored pencils. We have a little orange and blue pirate going on here. Also, I gave him a little peg leg if you didn't notice that before, because, he's a pirate. For the background, I just added some puffy tree leaf shapes. Next is a contact lens. I decided to put my contact lens on a finger because I thought that would make it look more like a contact lens and not just a weird little dome floating in space. Outlining in pencil again because I didn't think hard lines would work well with this drawing. For the contact lens, I used mostly blue for shading. I really tried to get those reflections. I also used a little bit of black and gray to darken some of those edges. Then I colored in the finger and we were done. This drawing is the head of a worm, and I'm specifically doing a bobbit worm because those things are terrifying. They're saltwater worms that get to be about 10 feet long. They bury most of their bodies in the sand with their little head poking out, and then they just snatch whatever food comes flying by. They got these huge freaking jaws that help them snatch that food. Also, they're named after Lorena Bobbit, who cut her husband's penis off, and I find that really funny for some reason. Anyway, I outlined this in Micron, and then I covered the whole thing in graphite and smoothed it out with my finger, and then I started adding the shading with graphite as well. Then I added some dots and squiggly lines for texture, and then took my eraser and erased some of the graphite to add in some highlights. Bobbit worms get this really pretty rainbow sheen when the light hits them, so I'm gonna try to add that starting with a base layer of colored pencils. Then I added some stippling with those colored gel pens that I still can't pronounce. The name will be in the description box. This page is done! Here are the top 2 doodles, the pencil shavings and the contact lens, and then the bottom 2 doodles, the parrot and the bobbit worm. Moving on to a lemon drop. I was not very excited to draw this one, and I've been putting it off for a week because it's literally just a yellow oval. I outlined using the yellow from this multicolored pen made for kids. I think the brand is called Scentos. Then started coloring and shading using a couple different yellows of colored pencil. Then added some more shading and a drop shadow with graphite. To fill in the background, I just added some scribbly lines with Micron. Then I decided I needed some color, so I added some scribbly lines with the yellow pen as well, and added some texture to the lemon drop by adding a couple little dots with Micron. Here's the finished boring lemon drop that I was not excited to draw. This is a drawer pull, but I decided to make it creepy by having a hand coming out of the drawer, holding onto the drawer pull and pulling open the drawer, so whatever this little creature is letting itself out of the drawer. That sounds like a scene out of a horror movie, and I am here for it. I gave it a very sketchy outline using Micron, and then I started to add a base layer of shading with graphite, which is also very sketchy. When I was done with the graphite shading, I went back to using Micron and shaded it all over again with some scribblies in Micron to darken those shadows and make it creepier and darker and just overall more sketchy. And there it is all done. What kind of creature do you think is hiding in the drawer? This is a bottle cap, which I also wasn't excited to draw. I spent a lot of time scrolling through Google Images trying to find a good reference photo of a bottle cap that actually looked fun to draw, and I didn't find any, so this is what I settled on. Here we have a bent bottle cap. I started by adding the highlights with yellow colored pencil. The base color is a gold colored pencil, and the shadows are that same gold colored pencil. I just pressed harder to get it to look darker. Outlined and some scribble shading with Micron. I scribbled in the background with purple, and then I added some little twinkle doodles with Micron, and then I added the word trash because this is trash. This looks a lot like beautiful trash art. Okay, moving on, we have fine print. I'm doing the stop style of this one in the same style as the music video for The Pianist by Madame Macabre. I will link that down in the description box below. That is a great song. It's creepypasta. If you watch the music video, you will see where I'm going with this little wonky skyline here. My concept for this one was to have a contract and hide the fine print somewhere, but right now I'm still working on the background art. Here I'm adding some like almost static texture, which is apparent throughout the music video as well. And now I'm writing out the contract in Micron. I'm using all caps and making it really squished, so it's kind of hard to read. It doesn't really matter what it's saying. It's basically just like a gist of the contract between the demon character and the pianist character, basically saying, if you sell your soul to me, I'll make this girl fall in love with you. And here I am adding the fine print down in the bottom corner with the company logo and the copyright, you know, where hopefully nobody will see it. Oh, and don't mind this little stain here. That's definitely not blood splatter or anything, you know, nothing to be concerned about. I wish I did the words and then added the background art because the skyline is kind of hard to see now with the words on top of it. Here's the finished piece. I'm adding a couple photos because it is hard to add a vertical art in a horizontal screen. Here's a close-up of the fine print, which says, "Your lovely music makes their hearts bleed," which is a line from the Madame Macabre song. Lastly, we have a piece of elbow macaroni. I outlined with an orange pilot pen, then added a little bit of stippling on the ends of the macaroni as some inside texture. I started with a bright yellow colored pencil for the highlights, then a darker yellow for the base color, and a yellowish kind of orangey brown for the shadow. Then for the deeper shadows, I added some graphite, filled in the background with purple, and called it done. Here it is finished, plus a little sneak peek of next week's video off to the right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!